Hello everyone. Welcome. My name is Neeti, and as many of you know me, I am a functional medicine practitioner and a board certified clinical nutritionist, having my practice here in Dallas, Texas. The reason why I'm doing this live every week, I typically have a guest every week who I will be interviewing and sharing more wellness with you guys. But this week is an anomaly where I'll be sharing all things balanced nutrition. The reason why I'm doing this live is I want to share non traditional approaches with all of you, such that you are healthier, more healthier as a family, healthier as yourself, and we have healthier community. We at times have so many non-traditional approaches that we would do it day in day out, but non-traditional approaches is what I want to bring you and leave you with. I am in Dallas, Texas, where it's 105 degrees. But if you are joining me live, please type in the chat box where you are from and your name. That way we can make it an interactive session. And if you are catching this as a replay later on, please type replay in the chat box so that I am able to reach more people and this message gets to them. Last week, as you guys, if you would have gotten a chance to watch my live, I had a very special guest, Dr. Bijoy Mukherjee, who spoke about the four foundational pillars of health, not only to achieve more health, but to prevent chronic diseases. And they were sleep, stress and anxiety, nutrition, and joyful movement. And so my goal today is to elaborate on nutrition, which I can talk about. Obviously, as a nutritionist, I can go on and on, right? So that's the idea behind going live today and sharing all things balanced nutrition. I'm often asked that, how do I eat right? How much protein should I eat? Well, life is very busy and I just don't have time to cook. So I end up just buying food from drive-throughs and fast foods. Yes, there are so many things, so many factors, but my goal is to leave you with 5 practical strategies that you can start implementing today. You don't have to wait for days or weeks or months to implement it, but you can start implementing today and get healthier as the family, get healthier as uh, yourself, right? That's the idea. So without further ado, let me jump right in and start sharing what I want to share today. With all that information available at our fingertips, new diets, new superfoods, so many choices, right? But we are not the healthiest. Yes, with all that information overload, we are not going anywhere. Any guesses why? Probably because we have forgotten the basics, is what I feel. If we just go back to basics, yes, that's my favorite term, just because I found that I learned that the hard way, is if we go back to basics, trust me, you will be the healthiest version of yourself. Overfed and undernourished. Unfortunately, that is 70% of the Americans here in United States. It's sad but true. And let me begin by telling you a little story about myself and where I came from so that you can relate to why I do what I do. Yes, that's a picture of an overfed and undernourished me 10 years ago. And this is a picture of me now. I feel so much better. I learned it the hard way. I was a physical therapist in my first career where I thought I ate right and I ate less and I exercised more to lose that weight, lose that inflammation, and achieve better hormonal balance. But as the picture shows, clearly that did not work. And I was holding that weight and I was struggling with weight loss for the longest time, for I would say maybe 8 years before I found the answer. And I found my answers in functional medicine and functional nutrition. And so when I found my answers, I was ready to get on the terrace and scream at the top of my voice that there are non-traditional approaches, functional approaches, there are integrative approaches which can lead you to better health. And I wish I knew that then, but I did not, and that's the reason I struggled. But my goal is to share it with you. I probably use the term functional medicine many times, and some of you might be knowing, but some of you might not be knowing. So let me tell you a little bit about what it is. Let's begin by telling you what traditional medicine is. Let me give you an analogy. In this picture, as you can see, there is water on the floor, right? What is our typical first reaction? Our typical first reaction would be to mop up that floor, right? So we would probably take out the mop and mop it up. Well, that works. The water will be gone. But what happens tomorrow? There might be water again, right? So here is another image where you see that, okay, next day the water is back on the floor. What functional medicine does differently is it looks for the source of water, which we did not yesterday. We just mopped it up without looking at the source. But when functional medicine looks at the source, whether it's coming from a running water tap or it is coming from a leaky bucket, and if we fix that, we turn off that tap, there won't be water on the floor. Yes, that is what functional medicine does, getting to the root of the problem. Because unless we get to the root of the problem, it doesn't get solved. And then the water keeps coming back and we do not get healthier. So that is a little bit about functional medicine and functional nutrition. So I try to weave those principles in what I practice today. And let me begin by telling you how I go about doing it. I stand for real foods and not empty calories. What I mean by that? 100 calories from broccoli cannot equal 100 calories from donuts or bagels. People count calories all the time, but I don't. So when people tell me, okay, do you count your calories? Well, I don't. The reason being, calories in, calories out approach is well known, is widely practiced, but that is not something that can help you in the long run. I would rather say start counting your chemicals, because those are the ones that cannot get flushed out easily and which can lead you to holding those empty calories. And start accounting for nutrient density, because that is where health is and you will get healthier. And next up, let me start by talking about the food labels. Once you understand that, you can make those smart choices yourself and get healthier. So if I were to ask you, as if you were live and you were right in the room as me, which of these foods do you identify as wholesome and healthy? And the answers I typically get is milk, and some of you might tell me orange juice. So those are the typical answers that I get that they consider healthy. Okay, well, if they are, let's do a deeper dive and read the labels and see if they really are. Okay, let's look at the Nutri-Grain bar. It says, made with real fruit, no artificial flavors, and no artificial coloring. Okay, awesome. If I were to believe that, I would pick it up and put it in my grocery cart. But let's look at the label closely. What it contains is whole grain oats. Okay, awesome. That's good. Enriched flour, wheat flour. Again, it's processed, yes, but still okay. But if you look at the list, it's a very big list, right? So that should give you an idea. When the list is that big, that gives me an answer that is processed food. Also, it contains vitamin A palmitate, it contains reduced iron, it contains B vitamins and thiamine. What it means is anytime a food is processed, the nutrients are removed. And what USDA has told food manufacturers is if the nutrients are removed, then you need to add it back in. And that's the reason when you see a long list, that should tell you that that food is processed. And not only that, if you read those vitamins and minerals on the label, that means that food is processed. Let's look at the second food label, Quaker oats. Again, some of you might tell me that you consider that as healthy, right? Let's look at it closely. Yes, well, it is whole grain rolled oats. Okay, I don't mind that. But what it also contains is natural and artificial flavor, calcium carbonate, caramel color, niacinamide, reduced iron. See what I told you, just told you. The moment any of those nutrients are added back in, that is because they were removed in the first place. Why not just have natural foods which contain those naturally rather than eating this processed food? Number 3, this is Simply Orange, a bottle of Simply Orange or Simply Lemonade, where it clearly says it's rich in vitamin C and it has no added sugar. It's tempting enough to pick it up and put it in the grocery cart, right? But let's look at it closely. If you look it down below, you will see that it is not a significant source of vitamin C. Guess why? That is because most of the bottled juices are typically pasteurized. And when it is pasteurized at high heat, vitamin C just goes out of the window. So vitamin C is removed, leaving very little vitamin C in there. And so even though on the top it says rich in vitamin C, it is not. And same thing with sugar. It says no added sugar. Well, that is correct. But if you look at it, look at the label, it says sugar 28 grams. What does that mean? We are I don't know why on the label it always says in grams and not spoons, because spoons is what the measure that we understand, right? So let me tell you, 4 grams, what does that mean? 4 grams of sugar means 1 teaspoon. So that means 28 grams equals 7 teaspoons. Yes, that 1 cup of orange juice, 8 ounces of orange juice contains 7 teaspoons of sugar. Can you imagine yourself putting that 7 teaspoons in a cup of coffee or tea that you had this morning? No, right? We typically add maybe 1 or 2 teaspoons. How can we add 7? And so this is what we get when we don't understand the label and we think it is good for us and we would be bringing it to our breakfast tables. I had another visual that I created to show you what that 7 teaspoons of sugar look like in an empty bottle. Insane, right? And this is the another food that I asked, and many of you might tell me that it is not processed. Well, if you look at it closely, it is ultra high temp, which most of the milk in the United States are. So if I were to tell you that when the milk is pasteurized at ultra high temperature, it kills all the enzymes. Yes, it also kills the bacteria. So it's not going to make you sick for sure, which is awesome. But it's gonna kill the nutrients that were in there. So even though you might think you are drinking wholesome whole milk, well, it is a highly processed version. And I don't have a slide for that, but let me give you my 2 cents here, where I know many families ask me that, hey, I have a young family and my kids love milk. So what is the option if we are not to consume ultra high temp milk? I would recommend Kelowna milk, which is my go-to if my kids ask for milk. Just because it is non-homogenized, meaning it will have like cream on the top, which is again a healthier version of milk, and it is lightly pasteurized. It's not raw milk, which again has its pluses and minuses, but it is lightly pasteurized such that you're not going to get those harmful bugs, but still it does have the property of whole milk. Again, not a proponent of eating dairy or eating whole milk, but if that's your go-to, look for Kelowna milk. Next up, I wanted to point your attention to removing sources of sugar. Many of you might tell me that, hey, I do not have sugar, which is awesome, right? So there's nothing great about sugar, and there is no dietary requirement for having every day 5 grams of sugar or 20 grams of sugar. There is none. There might be dietary requirements for zinc, or there might be dietary requirements for calcium or magnesium, but there is none for sugar. So I would say you don't need any. But at the same time, if you are avoiding all forms of sugar, just be on a lookout for hidden sources. What I mean by hidden sources, it could be hiding in your salad dressings, it could be hidden in your granola, it could be hidden in your fruit juices, right? So just be on the lookout for these hidden sources of sugar, such that you make sure you are avoiding that as well. And I can relate where in this present times there are so many choices for non-healthy, non-nutrient dense, high fat foods that are available, widely available. Our kids are tempted and they are inexpensive, right? So it's not easy, and if you are trying to avoid those foods, you're not alone. Everyone is trying, but since they are widely available, it's hard. But I just wanted to point out that these fast foods, what it contains is trans fats. What it contains is omega 6, high omega 6, more than omega 3. Refined carbohydrates, which does not have any nutrients left in it because it is highly processed. And all of this is going to leave you on a high sugar cravings, blood sugar roller coaster, and making you crave more of it. And so the core of my nutrition advice has always been to remove these culprits. Before we start adding other stuff, let's remove these foods. Even when you remove it, you'll notice the difference. Sugar being the number one. Look for those hidden sources of sugar, because even though you are avoiding, they might be creeping into your diet from those hidden sources. White flour being the number two. Processed foods that we just spoke about. The bigger the label, that should give you an idea that it is processed. When you see vitamins added or vitamins listed on the label, that should give you an idea that it is processed. Remove those. Fast foods, yes, sometimes life is fast, we are busy, so once in a while it's okay, but routinely, absolutely no. So remove these and get healthier. So my strategy number one that I just spoke about for last 10 minutes maybe is to clean your pantry and remove sugar, white flour, processed foods, and fast foods, and just reduce that consumption first and then gradually remove it. Let's talk about some nutrition basics that I want to share with you before I give you my strategy number two. What are the three macronutrients that we routinely consume? Protein, fats, and carbohydrates, right? Now tell me, what are the two micronutrients that we get from our foods? Macro meaning we need it in large amounts, and micro means we need it in small amounts, right? So that would be your vitamins and minerals, right? So together, vitamins, minerals, protein, fats, carbohydrates, they make up most of our meals. And that is where we get all our nutrients. But there is one more nutrient that we do not routinely speak about. And my professor, this term just stick with me in my head. So she told me that if protein, fat, and carbohydrates are the three musketeers, and those are the three musketeers that we'd always talk about, Dash is an underdog. Any guesses? The answer is phytonutrients. Do you know what phytonutrient is? The in a plant-based food, any plant-based food, the compound that gives that food a color, for example, the reason broccoli is green and your red bell peppers are red and your some bell peppers are orange, is the compound that gave it that color. That is the phytonutrient. So my what I'm going to propose is eat diverse, eat a variety, eat all the colors of the rainbow. Not from those artificial food colorings, but making those palettes from different colored fruits: red, green, yellow, orange, purple, white, or brown. Mushrooms fall in white and brown category. So there's a beautiful handout from IFM that I love, and I have put it on my refrigerator as well, because it's just human nature to just have those same foods. Or when I walk into the grocery store, I'm inclined to pick those same foods every week, fruits and vegetables. So this just helps me give a diversity and pick up different fruits and vegetables. And so now that you know the nutrition basics, you know what carbs are, protein are, fats are, I am sure you would understand what I mean by strategy number 2. What are these foods, if I were to ask you? These are common breakfast foods, right? They make it to our breakfast tables, where they are lying there, and you might commonly see it in restaurants, and you commonly see it in hotels being served as breakfast foods. What are these? If you look at it closely, the nutrition that it has is purely carbohydrates or sugar. What happens when we consume these foods for breakfast or the first meal of the day? When it is purely carbohydrates, which all of these foods are, our body is quickly able to digest those foods, and it leads you on a blood sugar roller coaster through the day, such that a person gets tired after a certain period of time. They have cravings, and they just crave more and more. Rather, what I'm going to propose is, if you were to add some protein and fat to your breakfast in terms of whatever you like, be it eggs, be it chia pudding, be it avocado toast, oatmeal, or adding some cherries and berries to your yogurt. So make it complete, make it balanced with protein, carbs, and fat, and reap the benefits, because that can be life changing. This one simple strategy has helped so many of my clients. They would underestimate the power of balanced breakfast, and they have experienced the magic of balanced breakfast. The cravings will be gone. They'll feel no energy dips. So just try it out for yourself and message me if you experience the same benefit that I just spoke about. So my strategy number 2, again to reiterate, is start your day with a balanced breakfast if you are a breakfast lover. My strategy number three, where I'm going to talk about groceries. Yes, when I change my grocery store, I change my life. My favorite stores are Sprouts, Costco, Market Street, and Whole Foods. You might have your own. But what I want to tell you is, if you are going to change your stores, go to farmers market, go to Sprouts, you will notice the change, because you will not be inclined to pick up those processed foods because they are not available there. Yes. And many of my clients, they tell me that, hey, but those stores are expensive. Well, yes, I understand. But what I want to emphasize is being healthy. Sometimes people tell me that it's hard, it's expensive. Yes, I understand. But look at the big picture. Being healthy is priceless. So if you can afford it, rather change your grocery store and shop there, and you'll see the benefits. And the other tip that I'll want to leave you with is try to walk the perimeter of the store instead of be going in the middle of the stores. Because if you walk the perimeter, that's where your eggs and different milks and your seafood and your fruits and vegetables are. And in the middle of the aisle in any grocery stores is where all the processed foods, all the packaged foods are. So fill your carts walking on the perimeter, and later on just go to the middle aisles. That way you will be less inclined to pick up those processed foods, since your cart will already be filled with those nutritious and nutrient dense foods. And so that was my strategy number 3, smart grocery shopping. And moving on to my next strategy number 4, fiber. Yes, according to the dietary guidelines for Americans 2015-2020, there are 4 nutrients of concern. You might have heard of calcium and vitamin D, so you might be making sure you're drinking enough milk, or making sure you're getting enough potassium from your foods. But there is one nutrient that is less spoke about, and that is fiber. Yes, it is the nutrient of concern, because about 70% of the Americans, our average consumption is 17 grams, well, where it has to be 35 for male and 25 for female. But we are consuming way less. And where is fiber available? Fiber is in all plant-based foods, be it your nuts, be it your seeds, be it your fruits, your vegetables, your grains. That is where fiber is. So make friends with your fiber. There are so many options. So just find the ones that you like, but make sure it is in your diet, because what it is going to give you is better blood glucose, better blood pressure, better digestion, and the benefits are just innumerable. And for that, what tip I'm going to give you is, next time you're hungry and you want to snack, I would encourage you to go to your pantry instead of your refrigerator. The reason being, pantry is where all the packaged and processed food are, but in your refrigerator, you'll have your fruits, vegetables, or your yogurt, or your eggs, and you'll be more inclined to pick those up rather than those processed foods, and you will get the benefit of the fiber. So that is my one tip, which is so simple to implement and yet very easy. And what else is fiber? Fiber is a prebiotic, meaning it will feed the good bacteria in your gut such that your gut health will improve multifold. So fiber is again a prebiotic. So that is how it will help you for your gut health. And here is some examples in this slide of healthy on-the-go superfoods. Yes, we don't have all the time in the world. Our day is not 48 hours, but our day has 24 hours, and we don't always have time. So I try to bring in nutrient density with these foods. We are on the go. Yes, these definitely help. Nutso, look for it in Costco or Sprouts, and it is one power-packed food. And last but not the least, which is my strategy number 5, is intermittent fasting. Yes, I can go on and on about intermittent fasting, and that's the buzzword going around. You might have heard of. And I wrote a paper in my capstone project on intermittent fasting. So this topic is really dear to me. And when I studied in depth, I noticed that fasting is present in so many cultures. Not only this is not a new thing. It was present, and it is in part of so many cultures. We just need to bring it into our lifestyle, is what I'm going to propose. So my first four strategies were how to eat right, and my last strategy is how to not eat such that you are healthier. Yes, eat in a certain window. If you can come up with that magical formula, and if you eat in that magical or certain window, leaving time for fasting and not eating anything, magic happens then. Your cells will rejuvenate, your cells will regenerate, leaving you living a healthier you. And there are many forms of intermittent fasting which you can find out on the internet, and just find the one that's practical and that works for you. You need not do something that your friend does. Just find one that works for you and stick to it. But there are two mistakes that I'll warn you that comes with intermittent fasting. Eating anything in the feeding window is what I've commonly seen. Yes, people think that because they are fasting, they can eat anything and everything. Well, if that was the case, then we wouldn't be that healthier by doing intermittent fasting. And the mistake number two that I've seen is some people restrict their eating window to be just 4 hours. And that's when the calorie restriction comes into the picture, and they eat very less calories. And that in turn ruins their metabolism, it slows their metabolism. And if they are doing that to reduce some weight, that does not help them. So those are the two things that I'll say watch out for. But otherwise, find a practical form of intermittent fasting and reap the benefits. And so, like, again, these are my 5 strategies. Feel free to take a screenshot and hang it, because I learned these 5 strategies the hard way, and I know they have been life changing for me, and hope it is for you as well. So if I were to sum it up, what I spoke about for last 30 minutes is, this is what has helped me is strategy number 1: add new plant-based foods. Eat a diverse plant-based diet. No matter what diet you follow, be it pescatarian, be it paleo, be it vegetarian, be it vegan, as long as 70% of your foods are coming from plant based foods, that is going to promote a healthier you. Fiber, phytonutrients, and vitamins and minerals are what these foods have. So please make sure you are getting more plant-based foods in your diet. And that being said, what I told you earlier was not only eating, not eating, fasting is also going to make you healthier. So try to find a form. My favorite, I'll tell you what I follow, is circadian rhythm fasting. What I mean by that is I eat from sunrise to sunset. So 8 to 6 is when I eat. I eat only after sunrise, and my last meal will be at 6 p.m. So sunrise to sunset, those hours are when I eat, and rest of the time I'm fasting, giving my body time to rest and digest that food and rejuvenate. So make sure you incorporate fasting and make it part of your lifestyle. And these are the 4 things that I did not talk about today, but last time Bijoy did touch point on all of those. So make sure you go and check out the previous videos. Move every day, focus on your sleep, get better and managing stress, and be mindful. This is my website. If you have any questions, I do have some great reads on my blog as well. And if you would like to schedule a call with me, I do have a free 20-minute call, which is available on my website. My website is backtobasicsfxn.com. Hope this was helpful, and I will catch you live next week in another video with another guest of mine. Have a great day. See you next time.